Aloha all, this is Unconventional Insights with Samana, and this is our 11th podcast. I'm entitling it Leap of Faith. I've been talking to several people in the last week, and I see that's kind of up for a lot of people. So I want to do a little bit of talking about this. So the act of leaping, that leap of faith phrase, is learning to be courageous, learning to listen to our inner voice that is constantly there speaking to us. Now, some of us have learned to tune it out, and we use mechanisms and food and drug and sex and alcohol and texting and social media to ignore it. Or we stay glued to a computer or a TV all of our waking state so that it doesn't talk to us. But when we listen to that inner voice, that deeper guidance, it is always going to direct us in the greatest places. So what I see is life is a series of challenges. For some people, there's more challenges than other. For myself, I could have a series of challenges in one day that last for days or a week, or there's cruise time for a while and then everything's easy. But when we look at challenges, if we can view it as that it's actually the universe or our higher self or that inner voice, that inner guide, God, spirit, however you want to look at it, that it's actually a carving and a directing our purpose, our life, our direction, and our path in a very narrow focus. So where it looks like there are obstacles and contrasts, it really is directing us. Turn right, turn left, and just keep walking forward, or walk slowly through some of the avenues, but continue moving one step in front of the other. This is literally learning to face our fears. So, this leap of faith, some of the topics, this is many people's topics where this could be something to contemplate or consider as a remedy, is be it if you're in a job that you feel drained or it's not challenging you or it's a toxic environment, have the courage to leave that. Or if you're in a living situation where it's not harmonious to you, like I am a person for many, many years, I've been blessed, or it is absolutely necessary that every home environment I live in, if I have roommates or whoever I live with, or if I live alone, then it has to be, I need nature around me. I need it to be quiet. I need a lot of time to be alone. I need a lot of personal time to contemplate, to meditate, to do yoga, to everything that I do on a daily basis. And I need whoever is around me to be of like-minded. So I don't want to be in a harsh environment. I can't be in a place that's loud all the time. But I want to tell you something. It really is our filter of how we view life. For instance, I live in Austin, Texas, and the house I'm in is my favorite house that I've ever lived in. And anyone who's known me through the years has known that I can manifest some incredible places. Just every home I've lived in is spectacular. Now, mind you, on Maui, they always had an ocean view, and here I don't have an ocean view, but I do have a view of lots of nature. I have trees, I have deer come up to my back fence, I have squirrels, I have had rabbits, lots of hummingbirds, birds. I love it, all of it. But when I first moved here, because there is this little freeway that is in the back of my property, and as soon as I go out there and I find it an indicator to kind of determine where I'm at, where my mind is at, if I'm in a balanced, aligned state, or if I'm a little off or spinning or need to do some of my life care tools. And if I go out in my backyard and I could hear the freeway, hear the cars on the freeway, hear the train in the horizon, and hear noise, then I'm not in the best place. But I can go out there, and I'm out there every morning. I'm out there every evening before sunset. I meditate. I sit out there. I get sun. I read. I talk to friends and family. It's my place. My dogs sit next to me on the swing, and I pet them, and it's just my heaven place, heaven place. But most times, I hear my 2 wind chimes. I hear the birds, so many beautiful sounds. I hear these crickets and things at night in the background. I see so many stars. That is what I hear most. But again, if I'm not in the right filter, in the right view, then I'm only going to hear traffic, because the traffic, I could literally see it through the trees. That's how close it is. So it's not a matter of I have this place that's silent. It's a matter of I am centered and balanced enough that I'm going to hear what I choose to hear, and I choose to hear nature and appreciate what is around me that I love, not focus on the negative. So that is one thing. But living situation, if you're in a home that you don't like, or with roommates or some area, then find a way, find opportunities, make lists. Again, we're in Virgo time. That's a great time for lists. Write lists of your wish list, what you actually want. And then next to it, on the right side, start writing tips about how to go about making that happen. Other things. Because again, your home life, if you're not in a place that you can recharge there, then it's not the right home for you. It shouldn't just be a place where you pass out when you're home and then you take off again. It should actually be a place of reprieve, of recharge, that's your little cave. Another place where often people are fearful and they're not looking at situations are in relationships, another one of my specialties. It's probably the majority of the clients I talk to are either couples and relationship issues, or single people not being able to manifest that perfect partner and what's happening, or they keep creating the same circumstance. But in this part with relationships, so the most common is people that stay in a relationship, regardless if they're married or not, and it's stagnant and it's no longer growing. That if in some way that a relationship isn't mutually progressing, either through couples having goals together and having a similar values and vision, or if you're personally also, so as a couple growing and as an individual growing, if that stops, I believe that it's time to get counseling so that you could re-stimulate that, or it's time to decide if you're ready to move away from that relationship. Because what I found is many couples stay in a kind of a dead relationship or a toxic relationship, because it's easier to focus on the other person and their issues and their problems and complaining about what you're not getting and what they're doing wrong than it is for you to look at yourself. And if that person wasn't in your face, and I have so many times had clients that I've told them, take a break. Is there like a family or friend you could like take a break for a month? And if they're not ready to get a divorce, to just see who they are without projecting on their partner or being irritated by their partner, because all their energy is outside of themselves, focusing on the other person instead of focusing on themselves and looking at their issues. So don't use your partner or any relationship, be it parent, roommate, partner, child, employer, whatever it is. Don't use any relationship as looking at their issues and your excuse for being unhappy. Take them out of the equation and own your own shit, in a sense. Just see where you're at and see if you didn't have them to focus on, how about using all that energy towards cultivating yourself? That is how we continue to grow. We stay in charge of our life. Another way of a leap of faith, listening to that inner voice, facing our fears, is in new relationships. Many times I've known people that have just started a relationship, or they've been in a relationship a year or even longer, and they're afraid to go to the next level. So if you're in a relationship that your needs, both parties' needs are getting met, your like deep inner needs are getting met, and it's stimulating growth in you, meaning your partner is encouraging your growth as you are the same with them, there's support there, and you just keep evolving, I would say it's time to go whatever the next level is, or to, in your mind, say it's okay to commit to this. It doesn't have to have a label necessarily. I'm not a fan of labels. I'm a fan of reading energy. I was just with a group of couple women last night that was quite beautiful, and they were talking about past relationships, and it still amazes me when someone talks about a relationship and questioning if it's good or not, or why is it not matching up. And I see energy so well. I just see it as it's an alchemy. Like either your energy, so if law of attraction is my belief, it's not if, it is my belief that who we are inside is reflected by the outside. And those are the people we're going to draw to us. So when you draw someone in your life and it's just happening, like you have the same values, you're getting along, the conversation is smooth, you enjoy each other's company, you're not in each other's face, there's a natural like an unspoken words about how much space you give each other, or just a harmony in how you cook together, how you eat together, all of that, that's because they're mirroring who you are, what you've cultivated inside. And that is a nice relationship on whatever level that is, be it friends or whatever. So, but to acknowledge that without being afraid of commitment, or without being afraid to say, I really care about this person. And again, if it's not happening, don't force it. I'm not saying to bail on everything that isn't working, but at least address it. Like name it. Like in meditation, when you're sitting silent, and if thoughts keep coming up, one of the techniques they call labeling it or naming it. Like if I'm sitting there trying to get into a deep meditative state, I can just say thinking, or I could say comparing, or I could say planning. Now, all of those are just one word labels. So in a relationship, if you're not meshing, if it's not happening, what if you just say, like, does this feel awkward, or are we connecting, or is it me, or are you feeling that too? Just having the courage to have that conversation is powerful enough, because that's listening, being authentic to yourself, and having integrity in what matters to you, and sharing that in your relationship. So I tend to always kind of go into relationship, but I know I'm on this leap of faith thing, but sometimes a leap of faith is having the courage to say to your partner, my needs aren't getting met. Are your needs getting met? Question mark. And how should we approach this? And like bring it, because that's what relationship is two parties finding a common ground. It's not for you to solve and then present that to your partner, because that's not a relationship. That's like a dictatorship. So you want it to be where, can we just present this idea and say, I need more, or this is, for some reason, I need to address this. I need to bring this into the open. So to know that with relationship is a fine line. It's that the most intimate mirror we have is our partnership, if it's marriage or whatever it is that person that's in your face every day. That's the most intimate mirror. It's like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you look in the mirror. That person you live with that's in your face every day, that person, however you view them, good or bad, you need to own as yourself. As it's things you've cultivated in yourself that you like, or it's things you've cultivated in yourself that you have an aversion to, or that you need to address and bring to light and say, let's talk about this. So sometimes that leap of faith is just the courage to speak or say, something doesn't feel right. How are you feeling about this? And see what happens. So now, talking about why people don't do a leap of faith. So when fear is present, the negative effect is you literally cannot, it's the inability to move forward. where it's a contracted state. So we could look at an animal, their pure fight or flight instincts. If you see like a rabbit or a squirrel or some type of small animal that when they hear a loud noise or a gun go off or something, or a deer, and you see how they freeze, they literally have adrenaline, and their fight or flight happens in their body. It's a chemical response that they can't move forward. When we allow our mind to take over and create all these fictitious fears, we aren't able to move forward or take a leap of faith. So if knowing that that's present, being aware of, wait a minute, I'm in that state a lot, that I can't make a decision, I can't move forward, I'm afraid of the consequences. What's happening is your mind or ego is stronger than your inner voice, your gut instinct, your highest self, your true self, your spirit. So it's that versus that. So understand you can't address fear head on, but you can notice fear does not like to go where it has never experienced before. Fear likes what is familiar. The mind likes what is familiar to it, not where it's been before. I'm sorry, I noticed something, a sign came up on my phone. No, let's restate that. The mind likes what it's known before. It does not like the unknown. It does not like that level of going into an arena that it has no idea what's going to happen. But when you go into that arena of what is not knowing what's going to happen, that's where all of the newness, all of the new neurons are happening in the brain and the life force, and you're most alert. So the positive aspect of fear is to be hyper alert. It's to be so present that our hearing is heightened, that our senses around us are heightened, our vision is heightened, everything around us, we are most present in the positive effect of fear. Meaning I'm not letting my mind take over. I'm going to use it to my best, for my best self. So when a client or myself is in this state of indecision or I cannot move forward, I tell them that a dose of healthy, ruthless self-honesty is called for. I love that term, ruthless self-honesty. That's where I cannot project on someone. I can't call it this excuse or that excuse. I have to own my stuff, and I really look under the layers. So I tell people, if they're in that state, there's two things to notice. The first is ask what you're most afraid of, and ask what's the worst that could happen if you move forward into this new situation, into this leap of faith. What's the worst that could happen? And let your mind go crazy. Write it down, talk to someone, or just acknowledge it in yourself, and notice what you're most afraid of. And when that is out and named and labeled, it diffuses it. So it makes it way easier. The second thing to ask in your ruthless self-honesty is, what is your hook to the person, to the situation, to the outcome, to the known circumstance that you're familiar with? What is your attachment? What is it you don't want to let go of? And most fears can be reduced to the fear of death, the fear of abandonment, fear of poverty, who will care for me. So those things, money, death, health, loneliness, all of those are big. Those are human things, regardless of our age, of our culture, of our where we're born, our religions. We all feel the same. So looking at those are very helpful. And when we can uncover and realize what is preventing us from moving forward or leaping, it makes it easier to fall and to trust. So that's what we're really looking at. So the opposite of fear is trust. And trust is the unknown. It's I have no proof, I have no security that this is going to be okay, but something tells me that that core inside, my heart, my solar plexus, my gut is telling me I got to do this. So now we're going to look at some natures. Now we have some people, if we were, I give a class on the 4 elements that I actually do with aromatherapy. That's an in-house workshop that I do where we make these little remedies, and I talk about air, earth, fire, and water in terms of essential oils and how you make remedies that help with emotional, mental, physical issues. So I look in terms of the elements, but right now I'm going to talk about people who by nature, that their nature is fiery or airy. So fire and air are very, they tend to be changeable. So they tend to be very fast and moving, and I like new and keep going. But their fear is commitment or sameness. So these people have to watch that their mechanism, that their defense mechanism, meaning something that is created of the mind, that is not authentic, that is a mechanism, is about let's just keep burning bridges, let's just keep starting over. And when someone does that and knows that about themselves, it's important that they do a little pause and that they take a moment and reflect with their, in order to help improve their personal growth, that leaping isn't always called for in every situation until you considered all the consequences, all people involved, all circumstances involved, your self needs, everything needs to be contemplated. So these are 2 natures or personality types that I'm saying we're looking at the other side of the scale. That the leap of faith may be your mechanism, may be your, okay, I'm ready to leap all the time, but what you're doing is you're leaving before you get that golden lesson, like that beautiful lesson that's in all of this. And sometimes we just keep moving. Oftentimes, to go deeper instead of horizontal, like there's a term where some people, when they're getting close to getting into some really great stuff inside themselves, where they're like dealing with something from the past or a pattern that keeps repeating themselves, that person in that moment, when they get really close, they instantly say, I got to change jobs, I got to change careers, I got to change relationships. They do what's called a horizontal move instead of a vertical move. A vertical move is where my awareness goes deep and I am aware of the patterns or the self-sabotage, and I no longer want to do the same behavior because I want to see it differently. I want to see what these obstacles are offering me, that it's uncomfortable, but that pain offers this beautiful diamond gift in the center of that pain of a teaching, of a lesson, and that's what I really want to see. So that is that side. Now the other side of the scale is the traditional. These are most people. Most people traditionally stay in the same neighborhood with the same friends and the same job and the same relationship till death do they part. Now, did they get the most out of life wearing the same underwear for all those years? I know, I just say that. So these people are happy, or they believe they're happy, or let's say they have accepted a sedentary lifestyle. It's like, I'm just going to do the same because I'm not going to push myself. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to stir anything up. It's fine as it is. Fine? I never want to live fine. I want extraordinary. I want exceptional. I want blissful. I want ecstatic. Like, that's who I am. Like, I want life force. I want to grow. I want to be humbled and drop to my knees in I got it, in tears because I got it, because I got that revelation. And thank you. Thank you for that person that was honest to me and told me something authentic about myself. Those are the kind of friends, those are the kind of people I want around me. Is where I have a blind spot, they're going to point it out to me in a kind way so that I get it, because I'm here to keep growing, keep improving. So, challenge yourself. So, my first leap of faith was when I was 16. I moved from the Midwest to California. Now, that particular one wasn't so hard for me because I saw the ocean and fell in love when I was 11, and I cried on my way home back to the Midwest. And I was depressed and everything from the age 11 till 16 when I left because I never knew the ocean existed. I saw sunshine, I saw the ocean, and I knew that was my future. I knew that's who I am. So that one was easy. I lived with my parents, my father and my stepmother. But 5 years after that, after getting my esthetician license and going to school and all of these things and working in Beverly Hills and so much fun and West Hollywood and that whole thing and partying and in my late teens, early 20s, all of that was very fun. Then I ended up moving to Hawaii, and this was probably my greatest leap of faith to date. And I moved with two Canadian bartenders, one that I was dating. I had one suitcase, $300, a little carrying boombox with a bootleg cassette. No, cassette? Yeah, cassette of Stevie Wonder songs in the key of life. So that kind of gives you a time frame there. And I played that and played that and played that, and then I couldn't afford batteries anymore, so then I was trying to find a plug, and anyways. But yes, I moved to Hawaii with $300. Loved it. Anyways, my chapter began. That was the best chapter of my life. So many things changed. My spiritual awakening happened in Hawaii. I had my daughter in Hawaii. I was married and divorced a couple times. Great men. We're still very good friends. All of my relationships there. I have friends for life there. I had my businesses there, my schools, my day spas, my everything. Everything happened there. My dogs, it all happened there. So it was wonderful. The newness of doing such a leap of faith is that's what like helps create, as I said, it helps you in that creating new pathways in the brain. It helps you stay alert, helps you stay on top of it, helps you stay youthful. So when I talk to my clients about like they're feeling old and stuck, I'm like, so open your mind, open your heart, change your life patterns in a way that who cares if you're 19, 27, 32, 48, 68, 85. Who cares about the body? The body will change, but it's the mind and heart to stay open and flexible and changeable and adaptable that keeps us youthful, that keeps us, okay, I want to be in a new environment. I want to do another leap of faith. So one of my experiences in my mid-20s was that I was doing this I was meditating one day, and I had this revelation because I'd meditated all the time, and I had roommates, and it was before I had a child, and I didn't have all those businesses yet. And I basically had this thought that if an alien came down and watched me for the day, would they know I was a spiritual person? And what brought that question to me was I was meditating in my room, and I was in a neighborhood, and I could hear this dog barking nonstop. It wouldn't stop barking. And I was so pissed that in my mind I'm thinking, do I shoot the dog? Which I would never shoot a dog. I'm not a violent person. But I had thoughts of it. Do I go to the neighbors? What do I do? And I'm thinking, how spiritual am I if I'm annoyed by this dog because he should be quiet while I'm meditating? And that brought me to that humbling question of would an alien or a child that couldn't speak, that was watching me, if I couldn't talk to them and articulate that I'm the spiritual person and meditator and all of this, would they know by watching my actions in a day that I was spiritual, that I believed in a higher power, that I believed in God? And I started asking clients that. Tell me an example in your life of something you do or a way that you are that people know that you're spiritual, that people know you believe in God or a higher power. And I find that a powerful question to look at, to really, again, using that ruthless self-honesty, would they see you as spiritual? Would they see you as kind, as generous, as wonderful? Or is it your view of yourself that's a little distorted and needs a shift there? So that's something to look at. Let's go back to leaping of faith there. Again, if leaping of faith is trusting, and we're talking about how in your actions do people see you as a spiritual, open-minded, open to new ideas, let's take this leap, let's try it, it feels great type of person, then think of how many times you've done that leap of faith where you've had nothing proven, no securities around you. So in business throughout my life on Maui, I had many different day spas with my schools that I kept adding to and expanding with square footage and students and employees and workshops and all of those things. And so many times, like I would just know, here's this next position, here's this next spot. I had a dream one night of this place. What is that place? And I remember I talked to the contractor and said, that's my spot. He's like, I have a list of people. And I said, but no, I dreamt about it. That's my space. And I know this. And I had like $50 to my name. And this was a $3,000 a month rent. But I knew that that was my next position. That was the start of my schools. And I went from there to moving to different locations. And as I said, I kept expanding. So there are times in business that we need to take that leap, even when we don't have finances, even when we don't always believe in ourselves. On those days, you take a nap, you take a break, you take the day off, you do something fun, you go in nature, you do something good for yourself, and then you try again the next day. At this point in my life, I left Maui almost 4.5 years ago. That was my latest leap of faith. I went from everything known, a community that I established for 30 years, people that I had it down, everybody knew me, and I came to a place that I'm starting over at scratch decades later. And it was hard. It was very, very hard, but it was what my soul needed. I knew that inner voice cried for this. Because what I established with all those years, as much as it was life purpose and so many beautiful things, is it was familiar. It was the same thing that I was doing, and I wanted to switch it up. I wanted to put myself in circumstances and situations that I can grow more. Because even though I kept meditating and I would teach self-life tools and I kept doing everything was for the health and wellness industry for all these years and changing lives, I wasn't changing to the extent that I knew that I could. So I came to Austin with my daughter, my dogs, my dad followed later, and I've loved it. So it's been challenging here starting from scratch, but I've loved everything that I have learned, and I would say 100% it's the happiest I've ever been in my life. Financially, starting a new business where I'm doing trainings and all of these different things, I'm kind of changing the filter of it, is fine. And I'll tell you that when I was young, I used to fear change. I remember being terrified when something changed. And somewhere in my 20s, in my mid-20s, I started embracing and even praying for change, especially when it was challenging times. I knew that life was impermanent. I knew that this wasn't going to last too long, and I can just breathe through it until it shifts, because everything changes. So these new leaps of faith, these challenging yourself, when you do something that is not guaranteed, because in truth, nothing is guaranteed, even if you're married, even if you have your house and you own it, even if you have a job that you're the owner of, anything can happen. So all of security is really an illusion if we look at that, not to put fear in anyone. But what you're doing is you're building your self-confidence by doing new circumstances. And never think you're too old to start over. Never think that I'm by myself, I have no support system. You are your support system. One of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And basically his message is so many things, but that's an excellent book that's timeless. Is it's like keep failing. Like all the millionaires he talks about is they failed and failed and failed so many times. And through these failures, what he's saying to you is it's not about how many times you failed, because each time you see it differently in a new area. And it means that if you ever made a lot of money and you were successful, that you know how to get back to that. Like the groove has been cast and you know how to get back into that. So you've already cultivated that much more. It's just how do you build from that? How do you build even more? Like where it's even more who you are right now. As we evolve and change, our external life has to change. So things can't stay the same with jobs, with relationships, with our living situations. Things must change. So now, let me see what else we're doing. Okay, so we need to leap because often we waste time. This is okay, so yeah, talking about the dynamic of the term leap, the leap of faith, where you literally are just like that, I'm out. And you do it. So once we get through that like contracted state, that fearful, indecisive state, and we finally do leap, now we often do that because our spirit, our soul says, wait a minute, I've wasted so much time. Why didn't I leave this relationship before? Why didn't I leave this job before? Why didn't I move from this city before? What was I so afraid of? So we literally say, screw it, I'm doing it. And it's just like this laser. It's just this powerful laser that just, it's a force that propels us. And it puts us in new challenges. It puts us on the edge. That edge is wonderful because that edge that we're talking about is the edge of your mind, of where you've, the boundaries of where you've known before. You want to go beyond those boundaries into something new, creating new mirrors, new intimate people in front of you that reflect who you are. When we stay the same with the same people, it doesn't allow for us to change. That term, a prophet cannot be a prophet in his own land. If someone became enlightened in their hometown, everyone would say, I know how you are, and they wouldn't even see the change. But if that same enlightened prophet went to a new land with people that never saw them, they would see the new character, and they'd help enforce that and reflect that. And that's how we change, is we keep seeing these leaps and we keep having new mirrors and new circumstances. And all along remembering these self-care tools. So the universe, I would say, with different, I just said to a friend, the universe is giving me daily opportunities to use my self-help tools to find stability and new ground on a continual basis. Isn't that a nice way of saying nothing's easy right now? But that is how I say it. I see that everything is changing. As I said, it's all impermanent, and I'm just so grateful for all of the teachings I'm getting, because it's a lot of stimulation. And I hope for you and all of you out there listening that you get inspired to do something that you haven't, that you've avoided, that you've been afraid of. Just switch it up. Just do something new. And now I'm going to talk about, I do several certified trainings. So I do trainings through, I teach coaches of coaches. So if you're in the healthcare, if you're estheticians, if you're massage therapists, if you're nurses, if you're physical therapists, if you're other types of therapists, psychiatrists, I've worked with so many different people that want to take a more holistic approach. And I give certifications where I either do it in small, intimate groups out of my home of like 10 or 12. I've done several workshops for the last few years that I've been here, and I'm doing more. And so there is certifications, and it's a Life Tools coaching certification is one of my favorite teachings. And this is where we're going to alter you for a 30-day, this specific diet that I will customize for your lifestyle, for who you are, for your blood type, for so many things are involved. And then we're going to go through the mental, emotional, physical total transformation. So once you do your work and you clear out your toxic crap of the food and the alcohol and the people and the hooks in your life for 30 days to really feel it on a cellular level, then you will make a much better coach. And as I said, I do that in a group situation, and that's a little cheaper, but you're sharing it and interacting with others, or I do it as a concierge where we check in once a week, and that ranges in price. You can contact me if that interests you. And another certification which I've mentioned in some of my other podcasts, is I'm co-hosting with David Garrison, and we have a free night that's telling about this, and this is on Tuesday, September 17th at 6:45 in South Austin. That's out of my home, and it's going to be a 2-hour presentation for our October workshop, and that's going to be the Relationship Architect certification. Now, this is primarily for singles because we actually go through a format and we have it structured very specifically with interactive exercises and lots of self-realization, lots of self-discovery. The more know thyself and know the whole world. The Oracle at Delphi said that. That's probably one of my life phrases. Know thyself and know the whole world. By the end of that 4-week workshop with the Relationship Architect, you will leave with a certification, with a personal contract. You will be able to help your friends, help yourself, know your needs, know your dislikes, your wants, your deeper challenges that have prevented you from moving forward. You will get so much insight. It will change your life. So please, if you want to come to that free night, September 17th at 6:45 for 2 hours, RSVP with me. My number is 808-283-7587. You could text or call, or my email is Samana, SAMANA, at SPALUNA.com. And for my upcoming October workshops, I'm doing some esthetician workshops on Mondays, and that's the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st. So those are for my estheticians, and those are all certification. I only take 10 in that class, and that is a $100 deposit to save your spot for that. So check out my website, spaluna.com. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this time. I hope that I help all of you. And thank you and aloha.